Tonight, cheer, goodwill and precious moments as Sydney celebrates Christmas. Standing room only as thousands pack churches across the city. Sore and sorry, a backpacker lucky to be alive after falling 7 stories in the CBD. Trees down as a severe storm lashes parts of the city. And the Aussie cricketers gear up for the Boxing Day test as the little ones steal the show.
This is 9 News with Amber Sherlock.
Good evening. From the beaches to the suburbs, Sydney came together today to celebrate Christmas. For many, it started with a familiar sound, wrapping paper being torn from presents after a special visit from Santa.
From first light, the race was on, wrapping paper flying as young and old reached under the Christmas tree.
It's not done.
After the gifts had been unwrapped, many of us took advantage of the morning sun and headed to the beach.
The sun has come out today, we're very happy. We're looking at anywhere up to about 50,000 people today.
While those far from their families also spent the day on the sand.
Away from the family for the first time from Christmas, so yeah, that's a bit different. And yeah, on the beach is very different for us, we're used to rain.
So I come from Belgium, so my friends are really freezing. I'm making them jealous with all of my beach photos, but I love it.
As for our emergency services, it was business as usual. Okay, maybe not so usual.
Merry Christmas!
Over at Manly, Santa was spotted in the swell after swapping his sleigh for a surfboard. The traditional festive feast was served up by the sea, with bubbles flowing and not just the ones you drink.
Merry Christmas!
For those too unwell to spend Christmas at home, the Wiggles stopped by Sydney Children's Hospital at Randwick. 3-year-old Amelia Barnett from Greenwich is undergoing treatment for leukaemia. Fortunately, she's a huge Wiggles fan.
Even just the anticipation, so it was waiting for the Wiggles and the Wiggles are coming, and it just helped to take her mind off all the procedures that she's been having.
At the Children's Hospital at Westmead, Santa also delivered a little Christmas cheer.
Now, if Dad is good, he can play with this. All right, if Dad's not too cheeky.
But perhaps the greatest gift was delivered here at Sydney Adventist Hospital. This is Angel Faith, who arrived at 1:40 this morning.
We celebrate the birth of Christ, and it's amazing we can celebrate the birth of our daughter.
For the record, Mum Mary wasn't expecting a Christmas baby. She was actually due yesterday.
I actually thought that she'd come like 2 weeks early because my Trinity was early. Yeah, so yeah, big surprise.
Kate Creedon, 9 News.
It's an event the needy and homeless enjoy every year, a time when food and laughter is shared at charity lunches across the city. This year, hundreds of volunteers worked around the clock to ensure every Sydney-sider enjoyed the spirit of Christmas.
A cracker of a Christmas for a group of strangers sharing the same plight. A fully fledged feast with all the trimmings.
And especially on Christmas Day, it's good to see the people come and enjoy themselves.
500 volunteers put on the free lunch and dinner at the Exodus Foundation in Ashfield. Among them, the family of Kaylee Fryer.
There you go. Merry Christmas!
Kaylee was killed in a car accident in April. When her family had the heartbreaking job of going through her things, they found a bucket list.
The one thing on the bucket list that I could do is number 44 was host a Christmas dinner for the homeless.
Ham, turkey and desserts, the Fryers were working not for Kaylee today, but with her.
I hope she would be proud, and I'm working with some great people here today, so it's very special.
Reverend Bill Cruz is the brains and generosity behind the lunch, catering for thousands of Sydney's disadvantaged, not just homeless, but young working families who simply can't afford to celebrate.
People will come here because they've got no presents for their children, they've got no Christmas food for their children, so they can get all of that here.
A generous supporter of the day, Cruz's longtime mate, John Singleton.
I think Billy's done more in Sydney than anyone I know. He's given his whole life.
Reverend Cruz started this lunch almost 30 years ago with just 2 people and a plate of sandwiches. Now there are 3,000 eating 75 hams, 55 turkeys and almost 2,500 Christmas puddings. For those in King's Cross, there was a side of Elvis with their lunch.
He knows if you've been bad or good, so you bet for goodness sake.
The Wayside Chapel putting on an Aussie Christmas feast. Those who haven't had much to smile about this year, today were ear to ear. Chris O'Keefe, 9 News.
While many of us mark the day with food and festivities, thousands paused to reflect on the true meaning of Christmas. Churches across Sydney were overflowing as the devoted made their traditional pilgrimage for a day of prayer and joyful tributes.
After a difficult fortnight in Sydney, thousands found solace at church this Christmas. Their voices united. At St Andrews, it was standing room only as Dean Philip Jensen delivered his final sermon, highlighting the need for a saviour in the form of Christ.
We're no longer a people terrorised by Islamic terrorists. I want a world that has Christ as King and brings peace to the world.
The pews were packed in St Mary's Cathedral, where Archbishop Anthony Fisher reflected on the Martin Place siege.
Sydney has said this week, loud and clear, violence is not the last word. Life and love are more powerful than death.
The Greek Orthodox lit candles. Those at Hillsong sang and danced at what resembled a rock concert. 5,000 flocked to midnight mass at the Vatican for the Pope's address, silent as the pontiff called for tenderness and warmth after a violence-plagued year.
La vita della gente è semplice.
Other Christians chose to mark the start of Christmas in Bethlehem, the traditional birthplace of Jesus. A procession moved into Manger Square before midnight mass at the Church of Nativity. Christmas, a day for faith, hope and love. Kelly Fedor, 9 News.
From spectacular sunshine to evening storms, the skies turned grey late this afternoon. Natalia, how's it looking now?
Amber, it's wet out there at the moment, but Christmas Day started out nice and fine. The beaches were looking absolutely gorgeous. There was plenty of sunshine and scorching heat, so lots of people out spending Christmas morning at the beach. The skies quickly turned very dark this afternoon. Summer storms rolling in across Sydney. Our western suburbs and the Blue Mountains hit the hardest. They saw plenty of lightning and picked up some very heavy rain. A large tree fell onto a car at Springwood. It narrowly missed power lines and thankfully no one was injured, though it did take crews a while to clean up. You can see those storms making their way across the city this afternoon. 7,000 lightning strikes were recorded within a 30-kilometre radius of Parramatta. Campbelltown has had the most rain, 28 millimetres. 26 has fallen at Camden. A severe thunderstorm warning is currently in place for these areas. Will we see another storm on Boxing Day? I'll have the full forecast later in the bulletin. Amber.
While most of us celebrated Christmas with family today, those who keep the peace remained at their posts. It's part of the job when you're in the police force, and for the last 15 years, one girl from Sydney's West has made sure they're not forgotten.
This is Emily Koss, packing up 42 kilos of lollies for delivery later today. 15 years ago, the then 3-year-old Emily asked her nan, Maureen, a question.
It was about a week before Christmas, and she asked me as we were coming down the drive of the preschool, do the police work Christmas Day? And I said yes, and she said, oh Nan, that's so sad.
And I was really upset, so I asked if we could take lollies, being a little kid loving lollies.
Took them to the police station and they were like quite gobsmacked.
Okay, what, because nobody had ever done this for them before?
Never done it.
And so for the last 15 years, every mid-December, Emily has packed and delivered lollies for the coppers of Quakers Hill Station.
It just brings me happiness knowing I can make someone's day on Christmas Day, knowing that the public are thinking of them and that we appreciate everything they do for us. I felt like I should keep doing it since they always have to work Christmas.
Did you get me some bullets this time?
Kind of weird hearing that in a cop shop. Anyways, the Sarge here is the custodian of the keep, because as with lollies everywhere, they need locking up. Jenny Hilda has been at Quakers Hill for a decade.
We keep saying the lolly girl. It's not the lolly girl anymore, she's the lolly young lady.
Emily's place here is such that she earns space inside the Sarge's locker door.
To see Em from such a little girl into this beautiful young woman she's blossomed into, it's just incredible.
And over the last 15 years, it seems her thoughtfulness has offered more to the coppers at Quakers Hill than just an admittedly tasty assorted collection.
It's often odd for us to feel like we actually touch people that way. So for her to think of us on a day where we're not with our families means a lot.
Sometimes it's hard to really know that you're doing a good job, and this is the way we get the sort of feedback to know that we are.
Firstly, it's amazing to me that a child can come up with the idea of doing it, but then to follow through as a young adult that she is now. Again, the word amazing keeps popping into my head.
But today will be bittersweet. Life moves on, as it does, as will Emily, to uni. And Emily will be missed. But Emily promises to call.
This is one of those junctures in life where the two of you will part.
Well, we might part from this, but we definitely won't part in our friendship. We'll always be in contact.
You still make the phone call on Christmas Day?
Definitely.
What about Christmas Day 2015?
Yeah, they can look forward to a phone call from me. Even though it was like the smallest thing, I was hoping to touch their hearts in the biggest way.
I think you did.
Thank you.
Happy Chrissy.
Happy Christmas to you too.
Mike Dalton, 9 News.